So let me try one more time. Super, super welcome today to International Women's Day. We're so excited to have you here. We would love to have your patience and tolerance because we're doing something that we've never done before, which is always exciting, outside of comfort zone, and actually fits perfectly with Women's Day. Creating change, doing something in a new way, being willing to try and go outside of our comfort zone. So can you please put into the chat, how have you celebrated Women's Day already today? And how you are doing? Also, please say, like, where are you from? Where are you calling in from today? So if you put that in the chat, then I will be reading them up. We're going to do it that way because we have issues with sound. And I want to make sure that we don't end up with double sound. So you can put it into the chat. Oh, it's so fun to see. I recognize names here. How fun. It's so great to have you here. Yay. Okay, it always takes a few minutes for people to start chatting. Does everyone understand where the chat is? So in these first few minutes, I just want to, oh, great, yes. Okay, Natalie from Belgium. Yeah, how fun. Marie from Gothenburg. I'm fine, happy to be with you again. Yay. Let's see, Karin from Hundkiskval. I'm sorry, even though my name is Heidi and I've been living in Sweden for 20 years, I'm not always perfect with the words of the names. So Marie, Shakti Yoga with my daughter, calling in from Lidingö. Stockholm, Anne-Marie from Halmstad, yay. Madeline from Stockholm, Karin in Stockholm, Ingrid, yes, hey Pelle. Another Christina from Hässelby Strand. Har been good, has had a lovely lunch in the sun with neighbors at a cafe. Fantastic. So I want to make sure that everybody can see us all right. And the sound is okay? Lovely. All right. So again, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you so much for coming today. I just kind of want to give a little bit of background as to what we're doing and why we're holding this. So the very first Women's Day was held in 1911 in the United States. The women were trying to get the right to vote, and they all went out to the streets and had a large protest. And since then, we have been having Women's Day in the US as a way to not only celebrate women, but also to celebrate all of the things that have come before us, all the women who have paved the way for us to be able to have the privileges that we do. And in Sweden, we have an amazing amount of privileges. And it's so important to look at those. But even though we know that we have a lot of privilege, we also need to see that there's a gap. And specifically with looking at the environment and what has been going on in the last few years, not only in Sweden, but if we look at where I come from in the United States, we have a huge gap it's still there. And we need to look at different ways of being able to, as individuals, make a difference. And so just to share a little bit of, like, for myself, like, why am I here doing this? I think we have a little background noise. So pretty please with sugar on top, as we say in the use. Make sure that you are muted, because otherwise we have background noise that shows up. So when you come into the group, just okay, good. And we'll just keep muting you. So please don't take it personally if we mute you. All right, so I've always been very interested in women's studies. As I mentioned, I've been living in Sweden for 20 years, but I grew up in the United States, where I have 5 brothers, and it was very clear to me that women were not as good when I looked around me, only men were earning large amounts of money or actually having jobs. A lot of the women were stay-at-home mothers. And even though being a mother is a really important thing, there was no power in that to be able to create change in a more visible way. There was always this underlying way that women would have power and create change. And in my own desire to make a difference in the world, I have worked with teaching mindfulness in Sweden for the last 15 years, helping people to understand how we actually have choice by being aware of our surroundings, being aware of what is actually moving us to make choices in life so that we have more choice for ourselves. In continuation with that, I've also been very interested in the environment, and I have felt this huge compelling need to be able to do something. And as a mother of, I've got 3 children, my husband has 2 children, you can imagine life gets pretty intense, and yet a huge need to do something. And when I saw that there was a gap here where I'm working, and we're going to tell you a little bit about more about that in a moment, when I saw this huge gap, I realized that I personally needed to do something, and yet I felt so overwhelmed. How many people can feel that way? You can say yes in the chat, but can you experience how you'd love to be able to make a difference? You feel like I desperately want to make a difference, but what am I supposed to do? And how am I supposed to do it? It was really, yeah, it's really hard, right? And so when I saw this tiny gap, even though I felt like, you know what, I am not a good organizer, but nobody was making a Women's Day that specifically looked at the environment, at least not where I was. I felt like, okay, this is something that I can do, is I can show up, even though I'm not a good organizer. And that's why, things are not going to be perfect. They're going to be a little messy tonight. And I hope that you have a little tolerance for that. It's a little easier to do this stuff live. It's absolutely outside my comfort zone. It's not perfect. And it forces me to be willing to do imperfect action. And I'm hoping that that is something that we will see through the speakers today, because we have an amazing group of speakers who are going to share their imperfect actions, the ways that they're showing up as women to create change. And then we will be, after we've been having our speakers, we're going to be doing breakout groups so that we can actually share with each other, what's going on for us, what was my takeaway. So we'll be kind of guiding you through this. And then we have a really fun performance that we've never done, a performance piece, like with on Zoom with the mic and stuff. So we're going to allow Ida to do her best with that. So I want to just turn the time over for just a few minutes before we get back to our program to Marie-Louise, who is going to be sharing a little bit about where I'm standing right now. If you can see our sign here. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but Marie-Louise.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I just want to say a few words where we are. We are at Ekskäret Klustret. It's a co-work space in the middle of Stockholm with entrepreneurs, people who just want to make a change in the world, basically. And we are in this incredibly beautiful, it's actually an old cinema that has been here since the beginning of the 19th century that has been reorganized into office space. And we're a little under 100 members right now, and that all share this desire, longing to really, stand together and make a change together. Yeah. So warmly welcome to our little space here. Are you ready to go on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so back to Heidi.
Yes. Okay, so that was a little bit about Klustret. Something that just a little mention about that. So as a co-creation place, we have space for lots of other people to be here with us. Klustret is co-hosting this event because to do co-creation, we have to have each other. We can't create a lot of these changes. We can do tiny changes by ourselves, but together we can create so much more. So one of the, I'm going to see if I can change my slide here. So there's a statement that we have in the United States where we say a rising boat Does it show? Yeah. So a rising tide. Oh, it needs to go up there. I don't know if you guys can see my things here. Sorry, let's see get my slide to work. There, okay. So a rising tide lifts all boats. So what does that actually mean? Well, in a situation like this, like with Klustrit, when we're all working together, something magical happens. So a tide, a rising tide, you know, the tide waters, as it rises up, it rises everybody together. And so we really need to, you know, together we can create much more momentum and a lot more things can happen. So we're going to be looking at that throughout the day as kind of a theme to come back to. So both with Cluster, but also with Women's Day. And one of the reasons that I felt, again, if we come back to why I felt compelled to be holding Women's Day, even though it's not my talent to organize all of this, is that to connect. And I'm really hoping that that's one of the things we can do today, is both to be inspired that we all have the capacity to do small things. You know, we can do it imperfectly, but we have to show up, and we have to show up together. So I'm so excited that we're being able to do this together. Okay. All right. So all right. So just a little bit more about me, if that's okay. So, like as I mentioned, I've been in Sweden for about 20 years, and I run two different companies. One of them is called Mind Fuel Lab, where I help people to rewire their brains, basically to make choices that are healthier and more helpful in life. And then I also work with women with a group called Shiro Leaders. You might have seen that. And so if you don't recognize the word Shiro, so in English we have a she hero. So that becomes a Shiro as an alternative to heroine, because in the English language you have a hero and you have a heroine, and I never really liked the word heroine. So it was kind of a play on words of putting the she and the hero together. So that's Shiro. And a Shiro leader is somebody who is willing to show up even when it's uncomfortable and scary, and maybe go outside of their comfort zone and do the thing that they know needs to get done, even if they feel like there's so many other people that would be better at it. She's willing to do it because she truly believes that we're all needed. And that's what my intention is, to hold for this tonight. So our first speaker tonight is such an amazing treat. We have Pella Thiel, and I just want to read up a little bit about Pella. She's amazing. First of all, I know her for many years because our daughters go to the same Waldorf school together, which is kind of fun out in Värmdö. And so it's been fun through the years to watch and see how Pella has developed and what has happened, because she really started out with a vision or a dream that she truly believed in, but that it was very slow. It took time for things to start to happen. And now it's so amazing and exciting, the things that she's been able to produce and to help create real change. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about that. So Pelle is the co-founder and board member of the Swedish Transition Network, End Ecocide Sweden, Save the Rainforest Sweden, and the Swedish Network for Rights of Nature. So she works with relational systemic activism, change processes, and leadership for a society in harmony with nature. So I would like to introduce to you the amazing Pelle Thiel.
Hey, hello everyone. So great to be here with you and share this important evening together. I was asked to say something about why I do what I do. But first, just thank you so much, Heidi, for convening us. I'm so happy always when I get your emails and when I think about the Shiro leadership. It's so important. For me, I'm an ecologist, and my heart is with nature a lot. And why I do what I do is because I just happen to be so, I mean, I was so sad for many years around what we do to nature, and I was in a state of despair around that. And I mean, I still am, but I think I've found strategies to cope with it, to hold the despair as well as holding the beauty of nature. And I was in a course actually with the Transition Network when I realized how much and how deeply I care for this world and the human beings and all the other beings. And since then, I have made that my mission. It's not a job really. So I would like to share some of that with you. And I have, I hope I can share the screen. It looks like that, yes. I wanted to share some slides with you. Beginning with this amazing female leader, Wagner, who was one of the world's first ecofeminists, I think, before the word was even invented. And she was working very hard for what's it called? The female right to vote and democracy in that sense. And I wanted to take you on my minutes here. I wanted to take you into what I think is needed now. So that was, she was working 100 years, you know, it's 100 years ago since the first election when women had the right to vote. And I think today we have to extend the democracy to include the other living beings on the planet. And she wrote a book, Väckarklocka, the alarm clock, 80 years ago this year. And it's totally to the point. I mean, you can still read it, and almost everything in it is very up to date. She wrote it under raging Second World War, and it's about how we cannot have peace with humans unless we have peace with the living world. So she's talking about intersectionality here, saying that the male domination of the earth has gone alongside the domination over women, as the dominance over nature and women is interlinked. The dismantling of this dominance should also be interlinked. And that is something we have not yet succeeded in. And I'm going to say something about why I think we haven't done that. And first we can just, you know, conclude that we haven't, but we have a total, the human domination over nature is just becoming something that Wagner foresaw. It's just, I don't know that if she really could, you know, if she could get into her head how total it is today. So this is a study from last year saying that from 2020, the human-made materials now outweigh the entire biomass of the earth. So our infrastructure, our stuff now weighs more than the biomass, all the forest, all the animals. Just the amount of plastic alone is greater in mass than all land animals and marine creatures combined. I mean, I'm trying to get my head around this, and I don't think I can. So why is that? Well, I think it's because we have a flaw in our culture. This is not a human flaw. It's a very specific flaw in the Western culture, where we made this assumption that we are on the top of a hierarchy. So this picture is from Aristotle, you know, where the democracy, the cradle of the Western democracy in the ancient Greece, he had this picture of how the world was organized. And since then, I think it has been even more of a separation, where we say that humans are very special beings and we are separate from the rest of the living world, which is a resource for us, just an object without needs or interests or rights. So we made this anthropocentric assumption. And as you can see also from Aristotle's model, of course, it's not humans who are in the top of the hierarchy, it's actually men. And the women are a bit below, close to the whales there. So this assumption has to shift. It has to shift into something like that, where we make another assumption about who we are, where we are participants in a living whole. And this is not I think this is quite intuitive, isn't it? That we cannot exist apart from the other living beings. And there's actually nothing saying that we have the right to dominate everyone else. And when we do that, we're actually destroying the living web of the planet. What's interesting here is that for people who think a lot about nature, they are increasingly now calling for a transformation of our society so that we can live in harmony with nature. And then you have to think about, so how do transformations happen? And this is a model I love. It's from another female leader, Donella Meadows, who was the main author of the report Limits to Growth that came back in '72. And she has been doing a lot of thinking around systemic change, saying that she has this iceberg model where above the water level, you have events. So things you can see, things you can count, like how many electric cars are sold, or how large is the amount of organic food produced, and how many people make ethical choices and things like that. And those are very important, but they don't change systems. So if you want to change a system, you have to go way below the surface to see how is the system changing over time? How is it structured? And the most powerful level for system transformation is the mental models we have, how we perceive the world, the assumptions we make around who we are and what the world looks like. So that's really the level you have to work on if you want to transform the system into something else. You have to change the assumptions. And people are doing that around the world. And I'm, as Heidi said, I'm very involved in the movement for rights of nature, saying that humans have rights, but actually everything living on the planet has rights. It's just that the rights differ depending on the needs and interests. And here's an initiative where Lake Erie, in one of the Great Lakes, is the 11th largest lake in the world. It's in Ohio, and it got so polluted that for some days in, I think it was in 2014, the people of Toledo couldn't drink the water, and they were totally dependent on the drinking water of this lake. So hundreds of thousands of people couldn't, they couldn't fill their most immediate human need, the need for water. And then they said, we have to do something because the laws of this country doesn't protect the water, so it doesn't protect us. And then they made this election on the rights of Lake Erie, with the Bill of Rights for Lake Erie. And this has, they have since then defended. So the people of Toledo, they voted for the rights of Lake Erie, saying that actually the lake has a right to be healthy and clean and alive. But they have since had to defend this proposal in courts. And the text here is from one of the speeches where they say to the judge that actually, you know, the human brain is composed of 73% of water. This is not intellectually difficult to understand, yet the state of Ohio's policies threaten clean water. So that means that for the 11 million inhabitants around the lake, their bodies are literally composed of Lake Erie water. So what poisons Lake Erie poisons the people. And that's true for all of us. So we are literally composed by the water we drink, and that water comes from nature. And the interesting thing here, I think, is that though this is not intellectually difficult to understand, actually the intellect maybe doesn't help us so much here. And as women, I think that we understand this on another level, and that's an important level. And I know, Heidi, my time is running out, but I want to also say that, as I said in the beginning, the idea that we are separate from nature so that we can pollute our water and still be healthy ourselves, that's a very strange perception, and it's ingrained in our culture, but there are many cultures around the world who don't see the world like that. Like, for example, the Maori people in New Zealand and a lot of other peoples around the world who says that the water, like the Whanganui River, for example, one of the large rivers on New Zealand, is actually part of the people. The people are part of the river. And here is Irena Röse. She's a daughter of Whanganui, and she lives in Deje in Värmland. And she now wants to work with the rights of the river Klarälven. So as the Maori fought for the health of the Whanganui River, they fought for over a century. And now the New Zealand government made a law saying that actually this river is not an object that someone can own. It owns itself. So it has the rights of a legal person. And this is a movement that's spreading across the world very fast now. And I'm so intrigued by it because it's at the same time paradigm shifting. So shifting the assumption of who we are and what the river is. But it's also very practical because it works. I mean, our legal systems understand this, that the river can have legal rights just as a company, a corporation can have legal rights. And I will just end by saying that another movement I'm involved in is that saying that we need new rules for our system because we have a society which laws and rules are based on the idea that we are separate from nature. And we have to rewrite those rules. And we can do that on the highest level, saying that ecocide or mass damage and destruction of nature could be an international crime on par with genocide and crimes against humanity. And so I would just encourage you all to join this movement and become Earth protectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pelle. That was wonderful. What we're going to be doing, can you see me? Is everything good? Okay, so thank you so much. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be breaking out into groups of 3. So we're going to be putting you into breakout groups. And Pelle has given us a few questions for you guys to discuss. So you'll be discussing with your other 2 participants. Let's see, 1, how can you strengthen your relationship or the relationship between you and the living world? And the other one will be, what would a duty of care mean to you? So what would that mean to you in your own life? So I'm going to be posting these into the breakout groups, and you will have around 5 minutes to share with each other, okay, so that we can actually implement and integrate this. So please, be kind, generous, loving to each other, and we will see you back in a few minutes.
So I just need to move around a little bit. People jumped out.
Okay, so
we have just a couple of.
It'll just take a moment. And actually, let's see, I'm going to be posting. So we haven't done this quite this way. It's going to be fun to see how it works. And Marie Louise is going to be putting you into the groups. And I think what I'll do is I'll just paste in your questions here. So what I'd like you to start with is the first one from Pelle. And then there's actually some questions in the chat that Pelle can start to answer. So duty of care. Okay. Så omsorgsplikt. Inte lika inspirerande. Great. There was somebody else also. I just want to, Pelle, if you could, there was a question here.
There was a question, whose model is this?
Yeah, whose
Pelle was
model is
talking about
this?
a model.
Right. There was a model.
With the triangle and the circle. I don't know actually.
Okay.
Okay.
We
Well,
like
we have
that.
the rooms ready now. There might there's
The iceberg. Iceberg.
Oh, the iceberg. The iceberg is Donella Meadows. I can put the link in the chat.
Thank you so much, Pelle.
Okay, but we will send you out in breakout rooms now. There's a room with 2 people, otherwise you will be 3, and we will also put the questions in the room so you can see them.
All right. Looking forward to hearing your conversations.
Pella, vi skickade inte ut dig.
För vi har några vi kan skicka dig ut med.
Nej, det går inte nu. Det går inte i efterhand.
Inte.
Men jag tänker, vi skickar ut dig sen.
Det blir bra. Fint.
Ja,
Fint att se dig.
toppen. Detsamma. Sen har vi Conny och Madeleine här.
Those of you that just hopped in, we can't send you out into breakout rooms when we've already sent out the breakout rooms. At least it doesn't look like we can do that. So what we've just done, just to kind of give you an idea, is that Pella just shared. You can go in and look at the link that she put with stopecocide.earth. It's in the chat, so you can go in there and look at that. And the questions that you can start considering for yourself, there's 2 questions, and they're actually in the chat. So if you scroll down, I sent it out. It says, what would a duty of care mean to you personally? And the other one is, how can you strengthen relationships between you and the living world? And please share in the chat, since you won't be able to. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Oh, that's right, Connie. That's because you just hopped in. When you've just hopped in, the previous chat doesn't show, so I will post it again so that you can see it.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Lovely. Okay, actually now I'm just sending it to myself. Let's see. Okay, so here are the questions. Yeah, I'm just reposting the questions. So anyone who just came in, super welcome. And you can look at the questions that I just put into the chat. And then the breakout groups will be around 5 minutes each time to be able to have the deeper conversation about how we're going to actually implement this and take it into our lives.
I didn't have any dinner, so I'm kind of losing my head here. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice chat out there. So please share what you talked about in the chat window, and we can see it together, and I can also read some of it. Please share what came up for you. We need longer time in the breakout rooms, please. Yes, that would be really lovely, but we have the time we have tonight, unfortunately. But we can try to make it a little, maybe a minute longer or so. But I hear a need to talk more, meet more. Thank you, it was amazing. Sköta vår skog med fokus på biologisk mångfald. Anything else? Skapa en blommande vägren vid stugan. To create a flowering sidewalk on the road at my cottage or at the cottage. We talked about what we do on an individual level and pass on the knowledge and sense of urgency to our children and grandchildren. integrate nature more into work and personal life. Buy second hand. Vi behöver hållbarhetsprojekt som är vinstdrivande. Yes. We started talking about cultivation, but soon realized that buying secondhand, for example, is also of care. If you dump your waste and kill the lake, do you go to jail or does it give you bad will so that your customers leave you? Okay, are you ready,
Absolutely.
Heidi, to move on? So Heidi will soon introduce our next speaker.
Hello. So fun to see all the things you've been sharing in the group. It's really fantastic. All right, so our next amazing speaker is Sara Järfors. And the reason that we have Sara here, that what happened basically, so what she's done is she has created something called Matlust, or Mat, food joy is kind of the English translation for it. And she has started an incredible project in one of the communes outside of Stockholm, and she will be sharing a little bit more about this. The reason that I was so inspired when I heard Sarah speak last was that the concept and what she's been able to create in this commune is something that we can take everywhere in the world. And so just a really, really short, she's been able to have near produced food and ecological food in like the school system, in the healthcare system, in the older people's, like all of the different capacities there within the community. And this is just, it's such an incredible thing, because really it's an idea or a vision that somebody had that said, this is possible. And everyone around them said, no, that's not possible. How could you possibly do that, right? In this huge area that's government owned. So I'd like to introduce to you Sara. So Sara, please come on up.
Well, thank you. I would like to share my screen here, if it's possible.
So you should be able to share it. Yeah, great.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
Now. So, okay. Thank you very much, Heidi, for inviting me this year as well, because I joined your event last year. And, I think because I am a woman and my colleagues, most of my colleagues are women actually. And I think, so my profession is something that stands very close to women. And hopefully after this, if you haven't met me before, hopefully you will cooperate with us in the future in some way. But first, as Heidi said, my name is Sara Järfors, and I am the head of diet unit in Södertälje municipality, which means I have the overall responsibility for all the public meals, and also questions when it comes to food. And the background is that the politicians decided, they made a decision in the beginning of 2000 to in a number of ways, trying to promote sustainable food production and consumptions. For example, they wanted to use the purchase of food for the school meals and the elderly care to buy sustainable food production, sustainable produced food, but also to teach the children how you produce food in a sustainable way, and to appreciate sustainable and healthy food. So that is what we have been doing since the beginning of 2000. When it comes to me, I have been working in Södertälje since 2003. So I have really been working with these questions very close to the politicians, trying to find out ways how to develop this work. So shortly, we invented this diet policy, which is a frame and also a toolbox of how the school restaurants should work when it comes to food and the school meals and the meals in the elderly care. Since 2010, or in 2010, or between 2010 and 13, we joined a research project and we invented this meal concept, Diet for Green Planet, which today is the base of all the work that we are doing when it comes to these questions. The concept, you can find more information on dietforgreenplanet.se. But it promotes healthy food that can be produced in a sustainable way. And we have been working with it since 2010. But you can actually use this concept over the whole world because it's like holistic and have a systematic approach. And the 5 core criteria, which is they are equal. It's like tasty and healthy, and that we should use food, preferably from regenerative agriculture, organically produced, and that we should build our menus on vegetables and whole grains and legumes. For example, it's like you have this limit, like you shouldn't eat more than 500 grams of meat per week. And it should be locally produced in season and trying to reduce waste in the whole chain, cooperating with the producers, trying to invent new products on former waste, and also build the menus on things that can be waste. So for us, when we invented this concept and implemented it, instead of serving one course, one option, today we always have like 3 options because that is a way of not throwing things away. So that's the method, for example. And we have a toolbox. We have been working with this toolbox for many years. So this you can see on our homepage that are very helpful. Like we're thinking seasonal pyramids. So when it's autumn, it's the red one. You should use most of those who are in the bottom, and then you have the top. So you can go in and look, because these pyramids are very helpful even for private consumers of how to think, because many people today in Sweden, they are not familiar of what is growing and when and how and what kind of vegetables you can store and use all around the year. But so this is a guideline. We work also with a number of other activities, projects. Because in Stockholm region, we have this situation where 3% of the landmark is like we are growing food, producing food, but almost 2.5 million people live in the Stockholm region, which make us very vulnerable when it comes to self-sufficiency of food. So that's why we're working with a number of projects, development projects, trying to increase the food consumption, the food production in a sustainable way, of course. As Heidi mentioned, we have been working with this Matlust project, Joy of Food, we call it, and it's mainly a business project. It's a business project where we support small and medium-sized companies in the Stockholm region to become more successful and sustainable, and it's free of charge for them. But also we are building this permanent regional node for sustainable food, and the driver of this node is the society. So we cooperate with the region, the county, and the county council, and also with a number of universities. And in Matlust, we have these 3 areas of support with a number of development programs, but also, am I running out of time, Heidi? How many minutes do I have left? You can unmute yourself. I can't hear you. Well, I can. You tell me when I have to quit. 2 minutes. Okay. We have this support in 3 areas. So it's development programs, and we also have invented this test bed where all the school restaurants help companies to develop products, sustainable products. And we also have a lot of seminars, different kind of events. You can see it all on our homepage. And this is just a number of business companies that have got our support. Examples of products that we work a lot with is grains that you can grow here in Sweden. For example, rice is one of the most popular food raw material that people are using at home, but we try to make people eating grains that you can grow here in Sweden. So it's for example, this corn or wheat or oat. And we also work a lot with trying to increase the production of legumes, and also help companies to develop products from these legumes. So if you want to cooperate with us, or if you want our support, or then you're very warmly welcome to contact me or my team on Matlust. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you so much. So exciting. And please do contact her. Such an inspiring project she has going on. What we're going to be doing now is going into our little groups. I will post the questions for you here in the chat, and then we can also send them out to you. And Maria Louise will be splitting you into your groups. So give me just a moment. You know, it's so fun with all these different screens. Yeah, I get lost. I'm like, which screen am I on?
So I'm sending people
Okay,
out.
so we're sending you out now, and then I will post it in the chat.
I will also post it in the rooms.
Okay, and we're going to post it in the rooms. So we'll just post it in the rooms. It'll save time. So
They're going out now.
goodbye. See you soon.
Yeah, sure. It's time to set
Hej, jag var helt själv i mitt rum.
Yes, we're in breakout rooms right now.
Ja, men jag var i ett breakout room, men jag var helt själv där.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I guess you were supposed to be
So-
with Madeleine.
Yeah, maybe somebody left or something. I will
Yeah.
move you, Karina. to a room. Let's see, I'll move you to number 4.
Okay, group 4.
Yeah, and Marlene, I don't know where she is.
No, she's taking a break. Hej, välkommen tillbaka. Welcome back. I just keep wanting to speak Swedish. All right. So, how was that experience for you? What did you notice? What showed up? Just take a moment or two and just, you can put in a word, you can put in the chat, anything concrete that showed up for you. We'll give you just a moment before we both come back to land.
Vi får skicka ut oss från Breakout Rooms. Vi fattar inte att vi skulle hoppa ut själva.
Ja, ni var tvungna att trycka tillbaka er själva.
It didn't end. Okay.
Men ja,
Close all rooms.
okej. Då ville folk stanna kvar såklart.
They don't want to come back.
Man är så van att bli utslängd så jag tror inte man fattar att man ska trycka ut sig själv.
Nej, precis.
Nej.
Nej, men jag gjorde det lite annorlunda den här gången för ni fick we gave you some extra time and that's why I didn't think about that I had to actually pull you back.
So now, welcome back.
Welcome back everybody.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So we've got some great questions here in the chat that Sarah will get an opportunity to answer a little bit later, but please just put into the chat, what was your takeaway? You can put it just short. Isn't this fun? Eaten season. Oh, that's beautiful. A new kind of plate method. Yes. Buy local. Consciousness and knowledge. Lovely. Re-socialize on all levels. Yes, absolutely. Hope for the future. Yay. Change in steps.
Less packages.
Less packages. Garden in every school. Yes. It's so fun too.
Lead by example. Great. So, which brings us over to our next.
Yes. I'll give you just one more moment before I introduce our next amazing guest. So, Ida Lod. And actually, okay. So I met Ida actually at a conference where she was holding a voice exercise. And I was so taken by it. And this must have been maybe 9 years ago, something like that. And it was just amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get to know this woman. She's incredible. And then we just happened to be at a conference or at a class that we took last year together. And then I was like, would you be willing to come and do something fun for us? So a little bit about Ida. Ida is a musician. She's a performer and an educator who primarily works in interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary settings through song, words, violin, movement, and various ways of interaction with her surroundings. She explores the connection between inner and outer worlds. She is going to be performing a song for us, and this song...
This is the words that Ida is
got
going
it.
to read and then we'll put on the music.
Yes.
And just to some technical, because we have this showing on the screen. If you want to see, because soon Ida will appear on the screen. And so if you want to make her bigger on your screen, you
pull it to the side.
Yeah, you will see if you use your cursor, and as you move it over between those two sections,
files,
what I say, files, you will see
sections.
this thing open, and there you can move.
In just a moment, you'll see
So
that you
have a
can
bigger
pull
screen
it.
if you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that you actually can see more of her and less of the other thing. All right. Okay, so 2, 1.
I bow to the darkness. I bow to the black hole in the darkest hour that will make me whole. I bow to the trembling and to the insane. I bow to the moment when I overcame the blame. I see myself in execution of fire. I see myself thrown to the ground, being called names of shame. I see how death is calling my name when I am no one, when my eyes are pierced, being put on sticks, when the fire burns my flesh in the darkest hour, when I gave up my name, I sit by the black hole, give the pain. It's in the moonlight, and he will torch their sin. Okay. Hey, hello. I asked Heidi to join me here. We can have a little conversation. I wanted to say before that this song, I Bow to the Darkness, is in honor to the women that walked before us and also that gave their lives, and women that walked alone. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit right now. But do you want to say something?
I think the thing that I was curious about is what was it that moved you to produce this? What was it that, you know, the inspiration behind it and what happened inside of you?
Yeah. And actually, I want to get a little personal. I think that can be appropriate because we're all humans. we all know the feeling of being alone. We all know the human emotions, but we often feel shame for our humanness. And this was a particular time for me, really the dark night of the soul, where it was Christmas and my 3 younger siblings just had their first born babies. They all got their babies at the same time. And I had been longing to have a child for a long time. So sitting there at Christmas with them, and I wanted to be so happy for them and for their children.
I got goosebumps.
And my sadness was just overwhelming, and my shame was overwhelming. So I had to leave. And so I left, and I was in this house alone, and it was Christmas. And there was all of these really strong emotions of not having a place on earth or a place of belonging, and not having a family. So, I mean, I did have my siblings and my family there, but like my own family and my own place. And then I was in this despair, and I just decided to sing it. So I started voicing these emotions, and then images came to me, and these were the images that came to me. So yeah.
Wow, it was so powerful. Could you guys feel that? You know, it doesn't always translate in the same way through video, but the energy behind that. And I think that so many of us know what it feels like right now to feel alone and perhaps feel shame around being alone, or the places in our lives where we feel shame. And so this is very, very appropriate, both for the pandemic, but also for us as individuals. You know, this way that we pull ourselves away from the thing that actually could nurture us, our family, because we feel so ashamed for whatever our shame is. You know, part of what happens in a culture where, you know, there's only one part of the culture that actually is seen as powerful if you don't also, you know, fit into the culture in the way that it's seen culturally appropriate. So I think that there's a huge amount of that. And what, you know, about being female, what was your experience of, you know, in your shame and in being female around, you know, how did shame show up for you in relationship to not being able to have a child?
Yeah, it's huge. It's also what we learned from society. It also goes back generation after generation. So being almost 40 and not having a child then was tremendously shameful. And intellectually I could understand this is not, it doesn't make sense, but my body and the emotions were really, really strong. But what I wanted to come to with this, because I created, this song was part of a 1 hour long solo performance called Ophelia Reversed, using Ophelia as a metaphor to rising from dying. And actually this whole process where I was using my dreams and my voice work to find this material was really getting me closer to my ancestors and to the earth. And when I heard Pella talk about this, how can we get in touch with our relationship to the earth, to the living beings, that's, for me, it was like really making a big change through my emotions and through the body down, connecting with my ancestors, like really connecting, and then connecting to the earth and to the moon. And yeah, you can call it the goddess or that which is bigger than all of us, and finding your place in that. And this whole process, I mean, of course it was years, but mostly intensely it was for 2 years. And that was like an initiation for me to then continue to really know what I wanted. And everything changed after that. I think also that's what Pella was talking about, that it has to come from the inside and from your perspective. And I found my place and my own family and things. started
It's
to
so
change.
beautiful. It's really, really beautiful.
So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, we in going out, did you have a question that you would like to share?
I wanted to ask you the relationship, the relationship that you have to yourself and your body and your emotions and your soul. We are so much in our intellect and our mental. So how do you nurture that? And then through that also the connection to the earth.
That's beautiful.
And maybe also, I don't know, what this song awoke within you might be a good question also.
So I think that that's really good. You know,
Okay.
looking, you know, you could bring in the aspect of your own shame, you know, and how do you embody? How do you step more fully into owning yourself in connection with earth? Because that's where you found power, you know, and using different modalities for being able to get in contact with oneself. So we're going to put you out into breakout rooms again. Please share with each other your experience of the song and your connection with yourself. And we will see you again in a few minutes. Yep.
Sending everybody out.
Okay. And we will actually kick you out this time because you guys had so much fun. You didn't want to come back. So we'll help you to come back when the time is over. All right. Bye. Lovely, great. So I hope you enjoyed your little time together. You wanted to say something about the...
Yeah, I really want to thank my collaborator, Sha Blasco, who made the arrangement, the electronic music here, because I think he might be here also. So
Oh,
thank
how
you,
fun.
Sha.
Thank you. And then if you want to write anything else in the chat about what your experience was, what did you discover? How did it feel? We'll just give you a moment. And then we're actually going to take a 3-minute break. Like it literally has to be 3 minutes because we have some more exciting presenters. Thank you, Ida. Love, love, love. Yay. Another one, thank you. Tack. Lovely. Oh, lovely. Awesome. It was beautiful to share from the heart.
Thank you.
We are dependent of being close to nature. Absolutely. The direct experience of raw emotion is so vital, vital and potentially healing. Absolutely. Beautiful. Tack Ida för your beautiful feelings.
Yeah,
Lovely.
it's
Yeah.
kvinnokraft. It's like women power. Yeah,
Women
because
power.
when we have the courage to share our raw feelings, we will recognize them in each other, so we will be empowered and not feel alone. And
Well, no, that's actually where our power comes from, isn't it? From our authenticity, from being who we really are and not trying to pretend to be something else. Something else that society might actually think is more convenient, because our emotions aren't particularly convenient
exactly.
at all. No. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ida.
Thank you,
And we will be
Heidi.
seeing you again in a little bit.
Yeah.
So we would like to give you 3 minutes now. So you can turn off your screens if you want, but you can't get out of Zoom because otherwise you won't be able to come back. So please stay on. And in 3 minutes, I will present our next exciting speaker. All right, so 3 minutes. But please come back. So please put your cameras back on so I know you guys are here, that you've had your opportunity to go to the loo or get a drink of water or get your drink. We could show each other our beautiful outfits. I was going to have us do that in the beginning. See how many other people got all dressed up. And we had our beautiful roses here, our gorgeous roses, but they took a lot of space up here on the desk. We can put them right there maybe, if our table doesn't tip over. Maybe not. Okay, so put your pictures back on, pretty please, so that I know you are back from your break. Wonderful. So I would like to introduce our next speaker today. Her name is Christina Callmark, and she actually is unbelievably amazing because one of our speakers, Caroline, last minute was not able to join us. And so suddenly we had a hole, and Christina offered so graciously to show up and to share with us. So what she says is, she says, I help integrate climate issues in your business strategies and operations as a business opportunity, as well as a handling risk, change, and people. So Christina is going to be sharing with us a project that she's worked on, which is Climate Reality Leadership Education with Al Gore. Pretty exciting, huh? And the Climate Reality Project. So the next global online course will be in 2021. And so I'm so happy to introduce you. And she's actually here live with us. It's so exciting. Woo! So super welcoming. I'm actually going to go around
Thank you,
this way.
Heidi. Great to be here. Fantastic. Short notice, no problem. I talk about the Climate Reality Project all the time. So I said, I'll do this. And I actually grew up in the same house as Caroline from Post. So I know what she's doing as well. And I love her work. But now you will get my take on this. And I'm from Stockholm. I'm a big city kid. I have one foot in Stockholm, the other one in the archipelago. And in the weekends we go out there. It's on an island, so you have to take a boat. No cars, no toilets, no flushing toilets. So, you know, it's really basic. And that gets me very quiet, connected to nature, slows things down, which is really, really good. So that's where you have me. And I'm here to share with you the journey I have done regarding the climate. I have a business background. I went to business school. And when the other students wrote papers on financial instruments or mergers and acquisition, I wrote papers on frogs and exports of frog legs. And that they're a pretty big part of the GDP income for the country. On the other hand, it's an ecological crisis if you take the frogs out. So we were kind of, you know, trying to balance money and ecology. So I've always had that kind of look on things. It's not the general business look on things. And I started working, and in 1994, I stumbled on a book and I actually brought it. This is Al Gore's first book, and it's called Earth in the Balance, Ecology and the Human Spirit. And you know, this is what Pella talked about as well. And you know, how do we connect spiritually to nature and what is going on out there? I read this book, and after that, it's like putting on glasses that you keep for the rest of your life. And that's how I address things when I work. And I started working with the environmental management systems and sustainability and dematerialization and digitalization. I see IT and all the things that we've had already coming and that are coming as huge enablers for actually building a society that has less of a footprint, which is actually what we need to do. So that's my background. That's what I do every day. And then 6 years ago, somebody who knew that I got started with Al Gore said, why don't you take his training? And then I said, what training? Probably a few of you have seen the film he did like 15 years ago, An Inconvenient Truth. That's when he also got the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. After that, he's been going around the world training people locally so that they can come up with local solutions. Everything has to be local. And the organization is called the Climate Reality Project. So I checked them up and I applied, I got accepted and took a leave from work and went to the States and took a 3-day training with like 800 other people from all over the world who are also dedicated. They had all kinds of professions, but they're all dedicated to making a transformation. And for 3 days, Al Gore is on stage with lots of specialists. There were people from NASA, there were politicians, public relations people, lots of experts. So you really understand what's going on and what we need to do. When you've done this, you pledge to pass it on. So what I do in Sweden is holding Al Gore's presentation. And I've done it in schools, 15-year-old kids up. I've done it in Rotary clubs and lots of companies, management teams, big and small gatherings. And the reaction I get is that people, they are shocked because they suddenly see the big picture. And they also say that now I understand. I've even been doing this to sustainability management consultants. And they say, now we really get the connection. And then we go for the action. You know, just understanding is not enough. You need to act as well. And then we address it either from the organization that I visit and also as an individual. So what does your company or your school need to do more? Because what they realize is they usually have a plan. Yes, we have a plan. And when they heard and understood what it looks like, they said, the plan is not enough. What do we need to do more? So that's one thing. And the other one is that all of us, what we do every day also matters. And then we take a look at that. And like we talked about earlier about the food, you know, how do I choose food that is better for the climate? So it's an awareness and caring journey that gets into action and hope, I would say. It's really valuable because we need, in the decade of action that we're in, we have 10 years to halve the emissions, big time change, transformation, and it needs to be readdressed in all kinds of organizations. So that's what I do as a climate reality leader. And as Heidi said, now they take in the trainings online, of course, due to the Corona crisis. And the next global one is in October next year. So if you're interested, you can apply. Yes, that's climate reality.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So please, we're going to be putting you into groups again. And actually, because of the time, what I'd like to ask, instead of putting you into groups this time, what I'd like you to do is to put into the chat, thinking about what Christine shared and the way that she got involved in doing something that perhaps was a little different than what she had been doing before. Finding a different way to get involved. What could you do? What is your takeaway? So just sit with that for just a moment and feel in, what is your takeaway? So we're going to give you just a moment to get into the chat. Let's see. Yeah, going from talk to action.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
It's an everyday action. And I usually end with a long list of what you can do as a in your own life? Like what is your pension fund doing? What energy company do you use? What do you eat? We already talked about that. How do you bring stuff along so you don't have to take away things in plastic? Do you have your own things with you? If you eat meat, organic, how do you move? Do you go on business trips? Now everybody's on Zoom, that's a no-brainer. How could we use that even more in a really good way? So it's like lots of steps. We also need to have our footprints.
Absolutely. And I can actually send that out if it's okay with you. I can send that out in our thank you note tomorrow so that you guys can all have a list of that to be inspired.
I can include it.
Right, we all need to feel inspired. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And actually, I'll just keep the book right here. No. All right, I would like to introduce our next speaker. And I'm so glad so many of you have stayed because we have two more really exciting things. Our next speaker is Helena Lindemark, and she actually spoke last year as part of the Women's Day for me. And when I was, again, thinking about, what do I feel like needs to be spread, I was so impressed by both the actions that she's taken and so much of the time giving her time when it's not always monetary connected, which is actually double-sword, right? A double-edged sword. Something that seems very common is that women are willing to do, voluntary work, being willing to give of their time freely to create change in the environment. And it's not as common that perhaps the other gender works as much for free in the same way. So I'm not saying that that's the way we should do it, but my point is that living her passion, 100%, fully embracing and doing what she believes to be the right thing. A little bit about her. She is the founder and president of the 2020 Initiative Foundation and Sustainability Development Sweden, AB. She's passionate about contributing to positive change for Sweden and for the world, and I know this to be so true. So Helena, I would like to invite you to come and share with us.
Thank you very much, Heidi, and thanks a lot for inviting me again. As you mentioned, I was with you last year at that time, with you at Klustret. So let me share my screen so I can use my 12 minutes.
Actually, Helena,
yes.
We've adjusted the time, so please feel free to
Okay,
use the time
great.
you need.
Excellent. So, well, talking about women and the International Women's Day, this book, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, is what made me do what I'm doing. Or actually, I started to work with sustainability back in 1991. At that time, I was at the United Nations in Bolivia for almost 4 years. And for the Rio conference in '92, we were trained in environmental issues and adding environment to social and economic development, which were the purposes of the projects to get sustainability. So since then, I've been working international with that. And a few years ago, I decided to work more in Sweden when my son lost his vision. And that's actually something that I came to think about when I heard Ida's song and you had your this thing over your eyes, because my son did a bit of music production when he lost his music, or his vision, sorry. Anyway, when I started to work more in Sweden, I thought Sweden as a role model could be something to speed up sustainability, both in Sweden and internationally. I had seen examples of that when I was working internationally. And in 2014, I founded Sustainable Development Sweden AB with that purpose. And with that purpose and that name, I needed a bigger project. And the book Silent Spring is what made me come up with this project, 2022 initiative. And the book made me realize that already in 1972, we had the first UN conference on sustainable development, really. The UN conference on the human environment in Stockholm, Sweden. And that conference was very much of a pioneer and trendsetter in many ways. It was the first time that non-state stakeholders were allowed to address the plenary in the plenary sessions. Indira Gandhi was, apart from Olof Palme, were the only heads of states that were there, and she made a very impressive speech. And it was also the first, they also had a kind of circular economy or a sharing economy with white bicycles that were shared among the delegates to go from one place to another. Anyway, the year after, in 2014, we had two major agreements, as you may know, the Sustainable Development Goals and the Climate Agreement. And that way, 2022 is not only the 50-year anniversary since the Stockholm Conference, it's also about halfway since both those important agreements. And it's really time for action now to reach those goals. And it's not that tricky for today's leaders to agree on long-term goals like these are. But to get action now, we need milestones on the way. And 2022 is perfect for that. So I started to lobby back in 2015 towards the Swedish government about hosting a Stockholm Plus 50 conference and linking that to the fact that it's halfway also in the Sustainable Development Goals. Finally, in June 2019, we proposed to have a Stockholm Plus 50 conference and also conferences all around the world that could be connected digitally to be global. And that way reducing CO2 emissions from traveling and also increasing engagement locally around the world. And today it would also be more pandemic safe. And now it's also a perfect way to build forward better and greener. And finally, in end of November 2019, the Swedish government decided that they want to do this. Now they're working on it and they've presented a draft resolution together with the government of Kenya. And probably mid-March, there will be a decision. And they're planning for a high-level UN conference. 2022 is definitely a very important milestone, but just another conference won't make a difference. So we need action now. And what we do now during these two coming years is crucial for the future of humanity. So 2022 is a unique opportunity to actually get action and just have organizations and people, everybody to set your milestones and get into action now and not wait until 2029 or so. We can make this year a 2020 wonder instead of just 2021. We're organizing dialogue meetings within the 2022 Initiative Foundation. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But according to research, there are a few things that can together drive change and transform societies to reach the SDGs. Education, gender equality, and equality in combination is one that they've identified. And also digital revolution, which we're definitely seeing now, thanks to the pandemic. This picture is from last year of the Globe in Stockholm, or the Ericsson Globe Arena. And gender equality is definitely the basis for all SDGs. This book is something that I got when I was working, or started to work with this 2022 initiative, from a professor called Arne Järnelöv. It's called Amazonia, the future world where women rule. And it's been like an inspiration for me, and also I guess for everybody else that reads it. And one thing that I would like you to discuss in the groups later on is this just an inspiration, or is it actually a future that we need, or a future that we're heading for? Can it be reality? And another food for thought is that are we slowly approaching the Amazonia world? we had a young girl, I think she was only 12, Severn Suzuki, who was addressing the plenary session in the Rio conference in 92. And now we have Greta Thunberg, 2019. Is it a coincidence that they are both women? And is it also a coincidence that Rachel Carson, Ellen Wagner, and Donella Meadows are also women? I don't know. Of course, there are a lot of men that do a lot of good things as well, but there might be something that we think differently. Anyways, what we do also in the 2022 initiative is that we see that we need to act locally and work together. This is another question that if we have time, we could discuss in the groups, is how can we let go of the silos and the competition thinking that we're using today, and instead co-create sustainable societies. This compass, usually we see sustainability as social, economic, and ecological issues. And this compass is actually based on Donella Meadows' research that Pella mentioned earlier as well. It's instead of north, east, south, west, you have nature, education and economy, sustainable societies, and well-being. And when you add well-being, you realize more easily that this is actually about us. And the compass can be used for understanding what the sustainable development goals are about, instead of just listing them from 1 to 17, as we'll do to the left. You can see that, yes, the ones that are at the bottom, the basis of the compass, are the basis for our survival on this planet and for future generations. And the ones that are related to education, economy, innovation, and lifestyle, and also SDG number 16 and law, and that can be seen as tools for creating sustainable societies, the well-being of individuals, and for solving all the damage that we've done to nature. And then partnership is key for doing all this. So we're arranging dialogue meetings to get this done. The next one is will probably be held towards the end of this month. The idea is to contribute to a better conference or action towards accelerating sustainability. Only 450 days until the 1st of June, when the conference is supposed to be held in Stockholm. So not much time. So please contact me afterwards and partner with us. Let's make 2021 the year of 2020 wonder. It's time for action. Thank you.
Wow, that was so unbelievably inspiring. Thank you so, so much. Really, really fantastic. So we're going to actually, I just want to, because be aware of the time. We realize that we don't have much time left, but this is so important. So please feel free to stay. We will probably be going about 10 minutes over. But if you feel as inspired as I feel, I hope that you will stay, because we'd like to break you into the breakout rooms, because these are really important questions to be able to discuss with each other and to be able to take this further. So we will be breaking you out again for 5 minutes. And then at the very end, we will have a closing, pulling this all together. So please do stay. And I see we haven't lost anyone. This is good. Really fun.
Okay, sending everybody out.
Okay, we're sending you out, and we will send the questions out into the groups also, so that you can read them once you're in the groups. All right?
Hej Kerstin!
Hej Kerstin!
Oj, vänta. Nej.
Hej! Hör någon mig eller?
Höger, liksom. Ja.
Vi hör dig.
Ja, alltså jag hade tagit fel på tid. Jag trodde att det var 9:00 så jag bara ramlade in nu helt så här.
Där uppe. Så.
Men nu har jag ramlat ut ur själva rummet. Jag tänkte jag bara kunde lyssna in kanske.
Men nu har du ramlat in med oss här i studion.
Ja, men jag var ensam i ett rum.
Ja, men jag hade assignat det med någon, men jag tror att den personen hoppade ur helt och hållet, för det var också någon som kom in precis nu på slutet. Och då tänkte vi, då tar vi tillbaka dig hit istället.
Ja, men nej, men jag måste ha läst 21, alltså 21, jag vet inte. Ja, så är det.
Men du, alldeles strax så ska Ida hålla en...
Fast jag ska inte det.
Okej, du hoppade
Nej, tyvärr. Jag tänkte att vi kan fråga. Jag hade tänkt att vi skulle faktiskt, efter vi gör den här, att vi tar, när alla kommer tillbaka och tar som en helhetsgrej. För annars blir det så sent.
Jag tänkte att jag...
som Ida leder eller?
Nej, som Heidi leder.
Ja, en meditation.
Jag tänkte
Men
också
jag
i den här...
jag bara tänkte göra en jättekort.
Okay.
Inte så mycket meditation.
No, we
men
have
avsnitt.
until 9:30, don't we?
No, it's from...
It's to 9:30.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. It's 9:30.
That's what I also thought. And then
Yeah. So we'll do you. We won't
We're-
do you, but we will have
Yes,
we will have you.
We will. With joy.
You will do us. You will do us. We will all do each other.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
got
and then
so
you can
concerned.
do your thing as well. We have lots of time now. All of a sudden.
But are there people left? Are they...
There was one person who left and I got time fixated.
Yeah, but many. I mean, that's what happens.
Well, we still have, now we only have 4.
Is there only 4 left?
Well, that's because they're in groups.
But how many?
Remember, that's what I
There-
freaked out about earlier.
No, but there is...
There's like 28, 29.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that's exactly what I looked at. Remember earlier? When I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
they're all gone.
No, they're not done.
Kerstin, nu har jag träffat den här kvinnan.
Ja.
Ja,
Jag hade
jag känner den fina kvinnan. Ni känner inte varandra innan?
Nej, det är första gången, men jag har ju hört talas om Ida mycket. Från Pontus och kanske genom dig också. Jag blir osäker.
Det kan man verkligen tänka.
Kul. Alla, när det liksom cirklarna.
Ja, men precis. När det kommer ihop. Yes, men vi ska se här.
Har det varit bra Ida?
Ja, det har det. Det har varit jättefint. Och jag gjorde en grej som... Vi hade inget soundcheck, så jag visste inte alls om det skulle gå någonting och sen gick det liksom.
Ja.
Ja, nu kommer de. Nu flyttar jag mig på mig.
Ja.
Hello, I see you're coming back.
They will be coming in a little second.
I think it's probably just me.
Oh,
It's
well,
just the one that
That's okay. We like you here.
I'm just hanging around and but maybe people now they're coming back. Yeah.
Yay. Welcome back. Welcome back. Lovely to have you. All right. So it would be fun to have you start sharing in the chat. What were your takeaways besides the fact that you didn't have enough time to talk with each other? So please start sharing. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. I agree. Collective engagement. Lovely to connect with caring women. Such a force. A lot is happening. Yeah, it's really fun, isn't it? There's lots of things happening. Let's give you guys a moment more. If we nurture ourselves and each other, oops, wait, come back to this one. If we nurture ourselves and each other in relations, we don't need to use resources to cover the holes in our soul. Very true, Zabib. Thank you. Absolutely. Getting closer to your feelings. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, moving away from, what is it, competition. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Helena, could you please put your link again into the chat so that people can contact you? And then I'll be sending it out again tomorrow. Yes, and looking forward to Amazonia. It will happen. Absolutely. Lovely. Wonderful. Thank you so much for all your wonderful comments and for sharing with each other. Scale down to your own society. Yes. And that's what we're trying to create it with it's like having the bigger picture and the bigger understanding connection with each other, and yet, working here where we are, supporting each other. To find my purpose. I want to belong to the new world. Yes, we all need to belong to the new world and find our place in it. The pandemic has shown that we can live in solidarity on the whole. Yes. From the pandemic, there is also rising a common gratefulness to life, and that it is good for collaboration to take us further out of the climate crisis for our children's future. We are creating the new world already, and we're creating it together. Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. So I would like to move on to our next. I'm bringing back the amazing Ida. Here. Yes, who will be guiding us in a little bit of embodiment work.
Yes. I know that you've been probably sitting a lot, maybe standing, I don't know. But let's stand up for a little bit and let's just stretch our bodies. I'm going to do a little meditation with voice and, yeah, embodied voice. But first, just do some stretch, something that feels nice for you. Maybe some yawning. And maybe a little sigh. Let's do that again. We do a stretch and a sigh. Yes. And last time, just a stretch and a sigh. Great. And maybe you have neighbors, they will tolerate this. And just a little shaking. So shaking your hands, shaking your arms, shaking your legs. And maybe just shaking the whole body like this. And maybe a little sound depending on if there are children sleeping or the neighbors. Yes. Okay, great. And just your hands together, warm them, and just very gently put them somewhere on your body, maybe on your face, on your eyes. And just relax. Feel your breath and the rhythm of your breath right now. And very gently just touch your body a little bit like you're touching someone that you care for a lot. These are your arms and your hands. So see if you can feel some gratefulness for your body. The vehicle of which how we work what we do in this world. This is our beautiful, wonderful, amazing body. And now, see, if you want to sit down, you can. And perhaps put your hands on, one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly, and feel the floor and the earth be underneath your feet or your body, depending on if you're sitting or standing. Just feel the gravity and the connection to the floor, the heaviness of your body. And see if you can connect to the ground, to the earth, which is underneath the building where you are right now. Maybe someone is outside. Connect to the soil. And see if you can imagine breathing together with the earth. As if the rhythm of your breath is the same as the rhythm of the earth breathing. And imagine that we all have the same rhythm of breath. As if we are all breathing together, all the human beings, all the beings, the animals, the plants, the earth itself. Also being part of the whole solar system, the planets and the stars. Everything, every being is breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Imagining one heart beating and this life force is swirling around like blood in our veins. And if you want to move just a tiny bit, like as if you're in a tiny, tiny, tiny dance, I invite you to move a little bit. It's a tiny dance with everything that is living and breathing around you. See that your jaw is loose and your hips are loose and soft, and your tongue. And when you feel ready, see if you can connect with an emotion of something that you dream of for yourself and for this earth, for yourself and other beings. See if you can connect with that dream and the emotion that is connected to that dream. Maybe you can see an image or color or a sensation. See if you can make it more specific. And when you have the image, the dream connected to your body and connected to your emotion, let's see if we can put a sound to it. It can be any sound, big or small. Let's try it together. We breathe in, and when we breathe out, let's do the sound. And let's do it again, and this time, see if there is a little more coming. So we'll do a little sound improvisation for a minute or so together in our own worlds and together in the big world. So we breathe in together and then we let out this dream song together now. Oh. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. It would have been lovely to have it so we could have actually heard each other. But I hope that in hearing your own voice along with Ida, you found something inside of yourself. And that's part of what we'd like to collect from our, both celebration, inspiration, and sharing with each other. What feeling do you want to take with you? Because, often we think that that's that thing that once we do it, we'll feel better, right? And actually, it's getting in touch with the feeling that we really want to embody. That's the most interesting, because that's something we can start with right now. Exactly like we just felt right now from being present, from spending this time together, from sharing this together. So feel in from your meditation, from your embodiment experience of using your voice. What is the feeling that you want to embody based on this collective sharing of inspiration, of knowledge, wisdom? So feel it in, and you can write it down for yourself, and then please share in the chat. So, but first, really centering in for yourself. What is it that you want to take with you? What feeling is a feeling that you can use almost as a daily mantra, bringing into your morning and evenings, into your days? It's a friendly openness. Beautiful, Marie-Louise. Togetherness, says Lena. Belonging, says Sherston. Thank you. I got the feeling of love to everyone and hope. Beautiful. Love for the world and all of life. Pleasure and satisfaction. Hopeful and loving. Beautiful. Hope for the future. calm and expansion. Beautiful. The word that shows up for me is actually a word that I have for this whole year, and it's actually alchemy. If you know the word alchemy, it's the predecessor to chemistry. So it has an aspect of science, which we've heard the science tonight, and it has an aspect of magic. And in my experience of being female, we're magic. Because you can't really explain how babies are created or how our bodies, function, or our emotions. There's so many things that are like that right fine line between what can happen when we get together, when we bring our voices together, our hearts together, our minds together. Alchemy shows up. So, okay, lovely.
Some feedback from Sibyl, beautifully said.
Yes, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That was
direct to you.
Lovely. So that's what we'd like to bring together for tonight. Is this alchemy of all of us, that together we become a rising tide. Let's see, we are magic and we're the ones to get it out and about. Absolutely. There's something that I play with, and I have this on my wall. I have alchemy, and then I also have aligned action and imperfect action. Because I think that, if, I don't know, maybe you guys aren't like this, you all are perfect and really good at doing all your things, but, my imperfect action can stop me from taking steps. And that we don't have time or space for that anymore. That our shame, it's really deep and it's really painful, but it's time to share it with each other and move on, because the world needs us more. Every year that goes by, the world needs us more. And we have to show up in our imperfect action and in our aligned action. And remember that a rising tide, it lifts all boats together. So we have to do this together. We all go together. We all go together. So thank you so much for this unbelievable evening that we've shared together. I want to thank the amazing people who showed up. Marie-Louise showed up.
A special thanks to you, Heidi, for pulling us all together, right? And maybe we should, did you want to finish off with something, or is this the end?
No, it was the feeling is what I really want everyone to leave with, is the focus on the feeling, not the thing, but the feeling that we can have. And I wanted to, once again, to just thank everyone, including my husband, who has sat here
helping with technique.
And has helped with our technical issues. And how grateful we are. And again, for each one of the speakers who were willing to give their time, we all have really, really intense lives, right? And each of these women are so busy and have so much going on, and showed up anyways. So thank you so much to all of our amazing speakers for sharing, and to each and every one of you, because again, without you, we can't give our gifts. So thank you so much for feeling the call to come and to celebrate with us.
So shall we all unmute and just say goodbye to each other?
Yes, and happy Women's Day, International Women's Day. Let me get to the...
We'll just get everyone in the picture who's actually here in real life.
In real life, and our beautiful flowers. Yes.
Flowers.
And please
Flowers.
unmute yourself.
Yeah, everybody unmute. You can unmute everybody. Yeah. I think it's something like that one.
But they are all, you can all do it.
They have to do
So
it
everybody
themselves.
has to unmute yourself. Yay!
Bye, thank you.
Tack så mycket.
Tack.
Love to the world. Thank you. Now, if you want to go get our drink, our non-alcoholic bubbly. Woo!
Great job. Thank you.
Love, love, love to everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mm. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Everybody used to wave. Goodbye. I love you. It's been so quiet. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up for yourselves.
Tack för att du hade oss.
Other.
Hej då.
Bye-bye.
Hej.
Did you want to share, I mean, did you want to save the chat or?
Yeah, it actually, if it's onto my computer, it saves it. But I will do that anyways. It automatically, yes, I have to save the chat because you guys
Yeah.
wrote such amazing things. Is it saving?
No, you have
File?
to, no, wait, so you see save chat
Yeah.
came up, so you just press it, take it down a little bit and now, again, open the dots and then you go down
Oh,
and click
there.
there, then
Yeah.
you save it, yeah.
You guys are amazing.